Hello, my name is Shulamit, and I'm the creator of the MetaSounds process. Every Sunday at noon, I host a Zoom meeting for us to explore wisdom teachings and experience the healing power of MetaSounds. These meetings are made possible by generous donors. Please help this site thrive by liking and subscribing, and please join our newsletter at greatoctave.com to receive notices of our events. I'd like to welcome everyone. I do have a little bit of a cough, which might interrupt the sounds of it. Today I would like to talk about fear, as that's something that a lot of people are feeling in various situations and stations in life. At this moment, it's more intense because of the uncertainty of our situation economically and in other ways. So everything and everybody feels fear. There's that great line from T.S. Eliot, "I will show you fear in a handful of dust." A cockroach, if you turn on the light, scoots for the safety of the darkness. I don't know if they think of anything or if they feel of anything, but there's certainly a response to the fear of being exterminated that caused them to move. There are many things to be afraid of, as we know, and we've all experienced fear. So you can be afraid of having an accident in the abstract, or you could be almost in an accident and feel the fear of that. You could feel the fear of losing your job. You could feel the fear of losing your marriage or your partnership. You could feel fear of pain. You could feel fear of death. I mean, these fears constant in our lives, regardless of whether the environment is safe or not. These are things that we feel periodically. If the situation is okay, you might feel the fear, and then the reason for the fear might disappear, and you might become relaxed again. So fear has a role to play in our survival. Adrenaline rushes through our body. It causes us to be prepared to flee if we have to, or to fight if we have to. And that's an important kind of reaction to have if you're in danger, physical danger particularly. But very often in modern society, you don't necessarily have that fear with the possibility of aggression, although aggression exists, but you might feel it in situations where you actually can't act on it. For example, if you're working in a company and you fear for your job, or you fear for your boss, or you fear being confronted on an issue or whatever, you may not be able to flee or to fight. You may just sit there with this. There's a physiological response with the rise of this chemical in your body that prepares you to fight, but it has a big negative reaction if it's continued over time on your physical being. And sometimes when we're afraid, we can get to the point where we're so terrorized that we actually move into a point of ruthlessness and not caring. I don't know if any of you have experienced this, but it's widely reported, and it does happen, where you find some kind of deep, profound inner strength that allows you to combat whatever you're facing. But having said all that, since we're in a time of great change in our economic arrangements, in what we can believe in, for example, with AI planting stories on the media with images that are completely believable. There was an image of Trump wearing the Pope's clothes that was circulating on the internet. These kinds of AI manipulations are very common. They're appearing everywhere. Right now, you can usually tell there's something wrong with it, but they're getting better and better at it. So it's going to be harder and harder to figure out what's true and what's not true, you know. So we're under tremendous pressure, and the rules that we are accustomed to don't seem to apply anymore, or seem as if they won't apply for very much longer. So there's a prospect of international tensions and wars and domestic upheaval, you know, income questions and so on. And here's where we have to be careful, because it's natural to feel afraid. I mean, I'm already encountering, perhaps you are too, and just, you know, walking around, people feeling the pressures of the current economic situation. The thing you have to be careful about with fear is that it causes you to become sometimes desperate for a solution, because it's an unpleasant sensation, you know, not one that you want to cultivate or live with. And you may also look for somebody who you perceive to be stronger than you, who's going to take care of you. And this is an old political trick going back millennia. Make people afraid and then step in to fix it, to accrue power. But there are two sides to every equation, and we can play into that or not play into it. If you really want to confront potential difficulties successfully, then you have to be able to make a good assessment of the situation as best as you can with the information you have available, and really try to see calmly what you have to do. You may not have a perfect solution to addressing whatever the issue is, because you don't have all the facts and you don't know what's going to happen. You have to make a judgment call. But to make a judgment call, and to make it an effective judgment call, it's good to be clear. And to be clear, you have to reduce your fear. The fear is there. It's an animal response to provocation, to, you know, attempts on your survival. I mean, the fear is there. But in order to be able to see what your options are, you have to try to be as clear as possible. Yeah, you got to have your basically, you have to have your eyes open and in front of your head. Don't forget, there are people who are trained to deal with fear. I mean, for example, certain kinds of soldiers who confront death on a day or injury on a daily basis are trained to deal with that fear and be able to move despite it. But to imagine that they feel nothing is a romanticization. It's not true, you know. War is defined in very glorious terms, but it's not very glorious. And there's a description, I can't remember who wrote it, of a man who was in combat, and he said, they never tell you exactly what happens. It's the smells of fear, of people losing control of themselves, of their bowels. I mean, this is human. This is human. We're human. But getting back to the point, you have to really take your ego, if possible, out of things. You know, you have to be clear. People may be acting against you specifically, that's for sure. That happens. But if you can take your ego out of it and just see it as a problem that you have to solve, then your reaction can be calmer. And you're not taken in by these con men who tell you that they're going to fix everything for you. So this isn't just an academic problem right now, because the problem is that we are handing over, I don't think we're doing it voluntarily. I think we're just beginning to see the danger. We voluntarily hand over control over our lives. And then we'll be in a situation which will be really ugly. And this isn't just here in this country, it's actually worldwide. So you have to make a stand. And the stand is to overcome fear, which kind of narrows your line of sight. And you want to make things simpler when you're afraid. One of the ways to make things simpler is to say, this group of people is evil. This group of people is trying to destroy us. This group of people is taking away our security, our safety, our jobs, our women, whatever. And you can narrow your gaze so that you can direct your hatred to this group and pretend that you're actually solving a problem, which is not the case. And of course, there's a tremendous cost to this, a lot of suffering. And we've seen it before historically. In fact, we've seen it over and over and over and over again in the course of history. And the question is, in this particular moment in history, are we going to see this again? Or are we going to be able to stand up within ourselves with clarity and decency and loving kindness to confront it? And I'm not saying any of this is easy. It's not easy. It's very hard. When there's a clear enemy, like in World War II, you're fighting the Japanese who bombed you at Pearl Harbor, or you're fighting the Nazis or whatever. There's a clear enemy. There's a propaganda machine that unites us with all our feelings against this clear enemy, and then a nobility is given to the fighting, with everything, with the way we talk about it, with our movies and so forth. But that's not the case so much anymore. I think that at least this time around, people are seeing through maybe some of the shabbiness of our leaders. This time around, it really isn't up to our leaders. It's up to us. I really believe that it's up to individual effort, because there is such a thing as tipping points, and there is such a thing as understanding that while fear is necessary to protect you and your family from disaster, because it enables, the cortisol to flow, and it enables you to come up with a plan, and it gives you motivation and so forth, it's also dangerous in that it makes you into a slave. And that's what you have to be careful of. You have to be careful of becoming a slave to your fear and to those people who pretend that they're going to fix it for you. You got to fix it yourself. I don't mean the situation. You may not be capable of fixing the situation. It may be beyond your control. But you are not beyond your control. You are not beyond your control. You have consciousness. You have power over yourself. And if you're a spiritual person, you have a connection to others and to everything that lives. And you know in your heart of hearts that despite all the noise and the hatred and the confusion of what we're living through right now, on the other side of it, there is something stronger and better. I believe this. We're in a period of chaos. And if you're familiar with chaos theory says beneath the overt confusion of circumstances in a period of chaos, something new is being formed underneath the surface, something that you can't see. You're looking at the old rules, but something new is coming into being. And of course, you can say, this is, have a very pessimistic view, and you could be right. There's no way for me to know whether you're right or wrong, or you could have a hopeful view. But it's for those of us who can hope and who are trying to design a better future for ourselves and our communities and our kids and so forth, we have to operate on a belief that there is something better, something different. For the last 8,000 years, we've been living purely on judgment. We're better than the next person. We're better than the next tribe. We're better than the next country. And there are all these people that we can marginalize and dump our hatred and our unresolved conflicts on. But now we have very powerful weapons. We've come to, in a sense, the end of the story. Not the end of a story. I should be clear. We're in a position now. There's so many bombs in the world to completely annihilate, or not maybe completely, but mostly annihilate life on Earth. But after that, there's renewal. I know that we think that we're the center of the universe, human beings, conscious, very smart, whatever. But I don't think this is necessarily true. There are other beings on this earth, and now there's AI, and now there are people who are talking about extraterrestrials, whether that's true or not. The point is, we can become more than victims of our fear. And it's not to say that the fear isn't merited, because I think it is. But to become victimized means that you say, well, there's nothing I can do. The world is going to be run in a different way, and there's nothing I can do except maybe run, or do something otherwise desperate. But what if you stop and really thought about what you were trying to do? Then I think there's a good chance, if enough good people stand up and say, I will not be victimized by a fear. I don't need a savior. I can save myself. I can save my family. I can save my internal life, and I can live through a period of upset because I'm working toward a better outcome. And the better outcome is not a fear-based outcome. The better outcome is that you are carrying, as an individual who doesn't have a lot of power, who is not famous or rich or any of those people, you as an individual are carrying a certain principle forward, a principle of decency, kindness, love, attention. And within that, you have to be prepared for what you have to do. I don't know what your circumstances or what's actually going to happen. Sometimes you have to fight. I'm not a pacifist. I'm just saying that when you're confronted with fear, you have to look at it and tell it to settle down sometime. Because when you walk around, as I'm sure you know, because we've all had circumstances in which we've been very afraid, it doesn't mean that there's been somebody at the door with a machine gun, but it could be a loved one at a deathbed. It could be facing a terrifying loss of income and stability, or losing your home. I mean, there are a gazillion ways in which we become afraid. And we react as animals. And there are chemicals in our body which help us when we're afraid in order to confront the fear. But when you're a modern person, a lot of your fears are in your head and in the confines of a specific area, and have to do more with mind control or whatever. So I think you have to look at it as fear as, on one hand, a force that helps us when we're confronting genuine danger, a force that can be distorted into a generalized feeling of anxiety when you don't know where the danger is coming from or when it's going to come, which is very, very paralyzing, or an attempt to victimize you. If it stays too long, if you live with it too long, you become the victim of it. And that's where you have to make a choice. And there are, not that many people who have succeeded in doing this, but you can read their accounts. These are the people who stand up for the rest of us. The Nelson Mandelas, is it Navalny in Russia? I mean, there are these singular people who stand up for the rest of humankind by saying they will not be cowed, they will not be afraid. Imagine if we were all like that. So I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to make sounds and to help you, hopefully, right now and in the future, to remember your core and to start practicing sound meditation yourself at home and learning about yourself, learning about your fears, and learning how to control them. Okay. So just relax and put your feet on the floor and with some contact with the ground. I have a very scratchy throat today. I don't know whether it's allergies or what, but so you'll have to forgive me if there are some glitches in my voice. Thank you for joining me today and being part of our community. I invite you to join us every Sunday at noon Eastern Time for the full live experience. Wishing you a wonderful week, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Visit greatoctave.com for more details about these webcasts, our newsletter, donations, and more.